Okay, so some things to review. Let's say that I give you this right triangle with angles A, B, and C. And I ask you to find the cosine of angle B for me. What's that going to be? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is 13. What's the adjacent side according to angle B? 12. Very good. What if I were to ask you to find the tangent of angle A? Opposite over adjacent. So from angle A, what's the opposite? 12, and the adjacent? 5. You can just leave it as those fractions. That's just fine by me. What if I ask you to find the cosecant of angle A? Hypotenuse over opposite. So the hypotenuse is 13, and according to angle A, the opposite is 12. Very good. How about if I ask you to find the cotangent of angle B? 5 over 12. Adjacent over opposite. That's not right. That would be the cotangent of angle A. Angle B, the adjacent would be the 12. Opposite would be the 5. Remember, tangent of A has to equal cotangent of B. Since A and B are complements, they add up to 90 degrees. The tangent of one has to equal the cotangent of the other. If I know that A and B are the two angles of a triangle, if I know that the sine of A is 0.4, how could I find the cosine of B? .9165. How did I come up with that? Well, because I know that the sine of an angle squared plus the cosine of an angle. Oops. I was just finding cosine of A, not cosine of B. Sorry about that. So the sine of the angle plus the cosine of the same angle squared has to add up to 1. So if I know the sine of the angle, I know its cosine by just doing that formula. I just put in 0.4 squared plus the cosine of A squared equals 1, and I solve that, and I end up with 0.9165. So now from that, what if I ask you for the tangent of angle A? How would I find it? Tangent is, yes, but if I only have the trig functions, it's sine over cosine. Which would give us 0.4364. What if I asked you for the secant of angle A? Secant would be 1 divided by cosine. So that's 1 divided by 0.9165. $1.0911. Questions there? Does that look familiar at all? It was from last Thursday and Friday. Should we do another one like that? So let's say I tell you that the cosine of angle B equals 0.7. Find for me the sine of angle B quick. In your notes. What do we have to do? Plus sine of B squared equals 1, right? So to solve that, it's going to be the square root of 1 minus 0.7 squared, right? 0.7141. Now I'm going to pause. And everybody see where that, understand where the 0.7141 comes from. It's how we would solve this equation for, think of that as x. Now, what if I ask you to find the tangent of angle B? Tangent is sine of B over cosine of B. So 0.7141 over 0.7, which is going to be it's going to be 1. 0.0201. Correct? Everybody see how I got the tangent? Questions? Comments? What if I ask you for the cosecant of B? Cosecant is 1 over the sine. So it's 1 divided by 0.7141. Oops, that's not what I wanted. $1.4003 exactly. What if I were to ask you for the cotangent of B? Two ways I could go about this. I could either do 1 over the tangent of B, which is 1 over 1.0201. Which is 0.9803. Or the other way I could have done cotangent of B is its cosine over sine. So 0.7 over 0.7141. .9803. So it comes out the same either way. I could use either method there. If I already had the tangent, it's easiest to just do 1 divided by tangent. But if I didn't, I could just do cosine divided by sine. How about secant? One over the cosine. So 1 over 0.7, which comes out to be 1.428574143 approximately. Any questions? I was given that the cosine was 0.7. Now the cosine squared plus the sine squared has to add up to 1. So I put 0.7 in for the cosine, and then I solve the equation. So 0.7 squared is 0.49. Subtracted it from 1 is 0.51. So sine squared equals 0.51, so I square rooted 0.51.
All right, well, I ended up with 0.714.
Second square root 1 minus 0.7 squared.
Yeah.
0.7141. Round off errors. I'm still getting 0.7141, even with the round off. So something went just a little off there. Questions? What if I tell you angle A plus angle B equals 90 degrees? What's that tell us about A and B? They're complementary. Add up to a right angle. So now if I tell you that the sine of angle A equals 0.7, and the cosine of angle A equals 0.7141. So I'm given this information. They're complements, and I'm given the sine and cosine. What if I ask you for the sine of angle B? What's that have to be? If they're complements, the sine of one has to equal the cosine of the other. So the sine of B has to equal the cosine of A. Now this is going to be a stumper. What's the cosine of B going to be? 0.7.
We're doing inventory. We're just going to take a quick peek at it.
Okay, you bet. So the cosine of B has to be 0.7. Has to equal the sine of A. So now here comes for the stumper. What's the tangent of B going to be? Tangent of B is sine of B over cosine of B. So 0.7141 over 0.7 or 1.0201. How about secant of B? One over cosine of B, 1 over 0.7, otherwise known as 1.428574143. What you guys think?
Can you scroll up to the ones before this, or you already have them done?
We can do another one like them. Let's say the sine of A equals, pick a number between 1 and 10.
5.
5.5. Just for the record, 10 is not between 1 and 10. So in your notes, find the cosine of A for me quick. I'll pause. So what'd you get for A? 0.866.
You didn't do it in the square root. You gotta do the square root.
So it'll be second square root 1 minus 0.5 squared. 0.8660 to be precise.
You went round up.
Nope, because that would be a 2. It does not round to 0 up. So now in your notes, I want you to find the tangent of A, secant of A, cotangent of A, and cosecant of A. Tangent is sine over cosine, right? 0.5 over 0.866, which is 0.577. What'd you get for secant? Secant is 1 over cosine, so 1 over 0.866, 1.15. Very good. Cotangent. 0.866 over 0.5, otherwise known as 1.732. And cosecant is 1 over sine, which is 1 over 0.5, or 2. How many of you got all 4 of those right? Good deal. So if I tell you that A plus B equals 90 degrees, and I tell you that sine of A equals 0.8, and cosine of A equals 0.6. You can double check them. Those, when you square them and add them up, it does come out to 1. I want you to find sine B, cosine B, tangent B, secant of B. Sine of B has to equal cosine of A, 0.6. How many of you had 0.6? Cosine of B has to equal sine of A, 0.8. Now that we know those, the rest is easy. Tangent of B is sine over cosine, or 0.6 over 0.8, or 0.75. Secant, 1 over cosine, so 1 over 0.6, or 1.6667. Oh, so you're right, 0.8. So 1.25. Correct. What do you think?